Okay, so
You hate him
like
so
Dad,
bad.
you have some kind of weird temporal limit on if he said something bad, but it was like more than a year ago, doesn't count.
No, he should not have said that. Of
Okay.
course not. I don't
Uh-huh.
like it. He didn't know he's on an open mic.
But even that, you're saying he didn't know he's on an open mic. So even if he doesn't say it, but this is what he does, sexually assaults women without repercussion. Whether he says it or not, isn't that terrible? Shouldn't that disqualify you from being a president?
It's terrible stuff. He can still lead our country.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I'm not going to do whataboutisms, but I sure in the hell could, but I won't.
Okay. All right, let's move on to our next clip. All right, let's move on. All right, let's move on. Let's move on to this. Speaking of God, we're going to move on now. Okay. Let's move on. I have 2 videos for us. All right, let's move on to our simmer down. Okay. Well, we don't see eye to eye on that. Let's move on. Let's move on to topic number 3. Okay, let's move on to our second topic, domestic violence. Huh? Let's move on. Let's get to a topic, please. We're already 15 minutes in. Okay, we have to move on. We are late in the show now. Let's move on to our second topic.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
Let's move on to our first topic. Okay, let's move on.
Swear,
we've gotten heated up. Hang on. Okay,
Dad calls him Bugs Bunny. Good luck.
What?
Okay, let's move on then to some of these Pam Bondi clips.
You're an atheist and a communist.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much for your question. We got no good answers here. Let's move on to our first topic. Trump, why are you leaning off camera to berate him?
Giving him the eagle eye, that's why.
The eagle eye. All right. Let's move on to our third topic.
That was our sit down. Move on.
Shit, now who's yelling? All right, moving on to our next topic.
I knew where you were going to go with that. I know you so well. Move on.
Okay. All right, let's move on to our next topic then. This one is a little lighter.
Okay. Don't get him started.
Let's move on. Let's move on to our next topic. All right. Let's move on to topic number 2. Let's move on. We have to, we're half an hour into the show. We have to move on. All right.
Fun.
Well, I guess we're moving on. Okay. Moving on.
Take that, lefties.
Why you always gotta be so mean to me?
My understanding.
Okay, so wait, hang on.
That.
Let's move on. That is our second topic this week. All right, we have to move on. This is making me insane.